What if everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations was just the tip of the iceberg? Picture this, a 2,000-year-old device, covered in rust and forgotten in the depths of the sea, suddenly reveals gears and mechanisms so precise they rival modern engineering. Or a surgical tool from ancient Rome, designed with such sophistication that it could still be used in operating rooms today. These aren't scenes from science fiction, they're real discoveries that force us to rewrite history. The truth is, our ancestors were far more advanced than we ever imagined, and the proof lies in artifacts that defy all logic. How did they achieve such brilliance without the technology we take for granted? And why were these inventions lost to time, only to resurface centuries later, leaving experts utterly stunned? This is a journey into the shadows of history, where the line between myth and reality blurs. We're about to uncover 28 ancient inventions so ahead of their time, they seem almost impossible. Think of the Antikythera Mechanism, a complex astronomical calculator found in a shipwreck, capable of predicting eclipses with pinpoint accuracy, 2,000 years before the invention of the modern computer. Or the mysterious Baghdad batteries, clay jars that may have generated electricity long before Benjamin Franklin flew his kite. These aren't just curiosities. They're glimpses into a world where innovation flourished in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. What if these technologies hadn't vanished? How different would our world be today? The deeper we dig, the more questions arise. Who were the geniuses behind these creations, and what inspired them to dream so boldly? Were they lone visionaries or part of a forgotten network of knowledge that spanned continents? One thing's for certain, their legacy challenges everything we assume about human progress. As we peel back the layers of time, we'll encounter medical marvels, architectural wonders, and machines that shouldn't exist. Each one tells a story of ingenuity, resilience, and a thirst for discovery that echoes across the ages. So buckle up, because by the end of this exploration, you'll never look at history the same way again. The past isn't just a record of what happened, it's a treasure chest of secrets waiting to be unlocked, and what we find inside might just change the future. In the year 1901, a group of sponge divers stumbled upon something extraordinary off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera. Buried beneath the waves, encrusted with centuries of marine growth, lay a corroded bronze artifact that would soon shock the scientific world. When archaeologists painstakingly cleaned and examined it, they uncovered a maze of interlocking gears, some as thin as coins, others precisely cut with teeth so small they resembled the workings of a modern wristwatch. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, a device so advanced it shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. Imagine a machine capable of tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and planets with pinpoint accuracy, predicting eclipses, marking Olympic cycles, and even accounting for irregularities in the moon's orbit. That's exactly what this hand-sized bronze wonder could do. Using a system of over 30 meshing gears, it functioned like an ancient celestial calendar, displaying its calculations on dials that turned with the precision of a Swiss timepiece. The most baffling part, it was built around 82 BC, long before the invention of tools capable of such microscopic craftsmanship. How did the Greeks engineer a device that wouldn't be matched until the Renaissance? Some experts believe the mechanism was the work of Hipparchus, a legendary astronomer whose theories on celestial motion were centuries ahead of his time. Others speculate it came from the workshops of Rhodes, an island renowned for its mechanical geniuses. But here's the real mystery: this wasn't someone of a kind prototype. The craftsmanship suggests it was mass-produced, hinting at a lost tradition of Greek engineering far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. What's even more astonishing is how the Antikythera Mechanism challenges our assumptions about ancient knowledge. We often picture the Greeks as philosophers and artists, not engineers building complex machines. Yet here was a civilization that could calculate celestial events with gear ratios so precise, modern researchers needed CT scans to fully decode them. If devices like this were common, what else might have been lost to time? The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just an artifact, it's a haunting reminder of how much history remains hidden beneath the dust of ages. While the Antikythera Mechanism reveals the Greeks' mastery of celestial mechanics, another ancient discovery suggests an even more astonishing possibility: that humans may have harnessed electricity 2,000 years before Benjamin Franklin's famous kite experiment. In the ruins of a Parthian village near modern-day Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a set of peculiar clay jars dating back to around 250 BCE. At first glance, they appeared to be ordinary storage vessels, but inside lay a shocking secret. Each one contained a copper cylinder housing an iron rod, all encased in a substance that tested as vinegar or wine. When reconstructed, these simple components formed a working electrochemical cell capable of producing around 1 volt of electricity. The implications are staggering. If these jars were indeed primitive batteries, as many researchers believe, they predate Alessandro Volta's invention of the modern battery by nearly 2 millennia. But here's the real puzzle. What were they used for? One compelling theory suggests the Parthians employed them for electroplating, using the weak current to deposit thin layers of gold or silver onto objects, a technique that would explain the exquisite metallic coatings found on artifacts from the era. Others propose they served medical purposes, possibly mimicking the electric pulses of certain fish used in ancient pain relief therapies. Skeptics argue the jars might have simply stored sacred scrolls, with the metal components acting as preservative seals. Yet when German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig replicated the design in the 1930s, his model generated measurable electricity, proving the concept worked. Even more intriguing, similar devices appear in Egyptian wall paintings and descriptions from Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder, hinting at a wider, lost tradition of early electrical experimentation. What makes the Baghdad Battery so fascinating isn't just its existence, but the questions it forces us to confront. Did ancient technicians understand principles of conductivity we credit to much later inventors? Were these batteries accidental discoveries or products of systematic research? Unlike the Antikythera Mechanism's precise craftsmanship, these humble jars suggest electricity might have been harnessed through trial and error, a glimpse into how curiosity and practical need could spark innovation even without formal scientific frameworks. The Baghdad Battery stands as a testament to humanity's timeless ingenuity. Whether used for gilding statues or soothing ailments, it reveals a chapter of technological history we're only beginning to decipher, one where the spark of discovery flickered long before we assumed it was possible. In a world without textbooks or laboratories, our ancestors still found ways to bend nature's forces to their will, leaving behind clues that continue to electrify our understanding of the past. While the Baghdad Battery hints at lost electrical knowledge, the Romans left behind something even more tangible: buildings that defy time itself. Walk through Rome today, and you'll find structures like the Pantheon, its massive dome still perfectly intact after 2,000 years, or the aqueducts that once carried water across continents, many of which still stand unshaken by earthquakes or erosion. Meanwhile, modern concrete, the backbone of our cities, often cracks and crumbles within decades. What did the Romans know that we didn't? The answer lies in a recipe so ingenious, it's taken scientists centuries to crack the code. The secret wasn't just in the ingredients, but in the way they interacted. Roman concrete mixed volcanic ash from the region of Pozzuoli with lime and seawater, creating a chemical reaction that actually strengthens the material over time. When tiny cracks form, exposure to moisture triggers a process called pozzolanic reaction, where new minerals grow and fuse the gaps back together. It's as if the concrete heals itself, a feature modern engineers are only now striving to replicate. What's truly baffling is how this technology vanished. After the fall of Rome, the recipe was lost, and builders reverted to weaker, less durable materials. Some historians speculate that the knowledge was guarded by guilds of craftsmen whose techniques died with them. Others believe the sheer scale of Roman infrastructure requiring vast quantities of volcanic ash made it impractical for smaller medieval kingdoms to replicate. Today, scientists are racing to revive this ancient wisdom. Laboratories are testing Roman-inspired formulas to create self-healing concrete for everything from earthquake-resistant skyscrapers to undersea tunnels. Imagine a world where bridges repair their own cracks or coastal barriers grow stronger with each wave. The irony, the key to our future might lie in a 2,000-year-old recipe hiding in plain sight all along. Pantheon's dome isn't just a marvel of architecture, it's a silent challenge from the past, daring us to match the ingenuity of those who came before. If we can unlock the full potential of Roman concrete, we might finally build a legacy as enduring as theirs. In the hands of a medieval warrior, a Damascus steel sword wasn't just a weapon. It was a masterpiece of metallurgy that could slice through armor, bend without breaking, and hold an edge so sharp it seemed to defy the laws of physics. Crafted between the 3rd and 18th centuries, these legendary blades were so revered that European crusaders returning from the Middle East swore they could cut a falling silk scarf in midair or cleave a rock without dulling. But what made them so extraordinary? The answer lies in a secret recipe lost to time, one that modern scientists have spent decades trying to reverse engineer, only to uncover something astonishing. Hidden within the steel's rippling, water-patterned surface were carbon nanotubes, microscopic structures so advanced they weren't formally discovered until the 20th century. The mystery begins with the raw material wood steel, a high-carbon alloy forged from iron ore mined in India and Sri Lanka. Ancient blacksmiths would melt this ore in clay furnaces, infusing it with organic materials like leaves and bark. The resulting ingots were then heated, folded, and hammered hundreds of times, a process that not only removed impurities but, unbeknownst to the smiths, aligned the carbon atoms into those miraculous nanotube structures. These tiny, hollow cylinders, just a few billionths of a meter wide, acted like microscopic reinforcements, giving the steel unparalleled strength and flexibility. Even more baffling, the process wasn't just skill, it was a perfect storm of chemistry, temperature, and timing that modern labs struggle to replicate. For years, researchers assumed the nanotubes were a happy accident, a byproduct of the unique ore and forging techniques, but recent experiments suggest something more deliberate. Texts from the era describe quenching the blades in mysterious dragon's blood or special dew, which some now believe were solutions rich in plant-based carbon, essentially primitive catalysts for nanotube formation. Were these smiths, working without microscopes or molecular theory, somehow guiding the steel's structure at a nanoscale? The line between folklore and science blurs when you consider that these blades could withstand stresses that would shatter ordinary metal, their edges remaining sharp even after battles that would leave other swords notched and dull. The tragedy of Damascus steel is that its true formula vanished by the 18th century. possibly due to depleted mines or the decline of guilds that guarded the knowledge. Today, while we can mimic the appearance with acid etching, no modern replica matches the original's performance. Laboratories have come close using nanotechnology, but the ancient method, a blend of art, intuition, and unknowing mastery of atomic structures, remains just out of reach. What lingers isn't just the ghost of a lost technology, but a humbling truth. Centuries before we understood the science, humans were manipulating materials on a scale we once thought impossible. The swordsmiths of Damascus didn't just craft weapons, they left behind a challenge, etched in steel, that still pushes the boundaries of what we believe about the past. Their legacy whispers that sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't just about what we know, but what we've forgotten. Imagine a weapon so fearsome, its mere sight could make entire fleets retreat in panic, a liquid flame that clung to ships like cursed oil, burning even on water and defying all attempts to extinguish it. This was Greek fire, the Byzantine Empire's most devastating secret weapon, wielded for centuries to repel invaders and secure naval dominance. First deployed in the 7th century against Arab forces besieging Constantinople, its effects were nothing short of apocalyptic. Flames would erupt across the waves, consuming enemy vessels in minutes, while sailors leaped into the sea only to find the fire following them. The terror it inspired was so profound that opposing armies would scatter at the whisper of its use. But what made this infernal substance so unstoppable? And how did its creators, medieval alchemists working without modern chemistry, unlock such destructive power? The mystery begins with the recipe, a state secret so closely guarded that only a handful of Byzantine emperors and chemists ever knew it. Historical accounts describe a sticky, gelatinous liquid launched from bronze tubes mounted on ships or walls that ignited on contact with air or water. Some scholars believe it contained crude petroleum from the Black Sea, mixed with resins or sulfur to make it adhesive. Others point to quicklime, a substance that reacts violently with water, releasing enough heat to ignite nearby materials. Then there's the most intriguing theory that Greek fire harnessed early chemical reactions, perhaps even a primitive form of napalm, combining flammable oils with saltpeter or other oxidizers. What's astonishing isn't just the fire itself, but the precision of its delivery. Byzantine engineers designed pressurized nozzles and pumps to spray the liquid in sweeping arcs, turning their ships into floating flamethrowers. The technology was so advanced that even when enemies captured Greek fire projectors, they couldn't replicate the effect, missing some critical ingredient or technique. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a system of chemistry, engineering, and psychological warfare perfected over generations. Yet the greatest enigma isn't how Greek fire worked, but why its secrets vanished. When Constantinople fell in 1453, the knowledge seemingly disappeared overnight. Some speculate the formula was deliberately destroyed to prevent rivals from wielding it. Others believe it was lost earlier, as political turmoil scattered the guilds who maintained the tradition. What's clear is that no surviving document reveals the full recipe, leaving modern scientists to piece together clues from fragmented texts and archaeological finds. The legacy of Greek fire lingers in the shadows of history, a reminder of how advanced and fragile ancient knowledge could be. It challenges our assumptions about medieval technology, revealing a world where innovation and secrecy walked hand in hand. Today, as researchers debate whether to recreate it using historical methods, one question burns brighter than the flames themselves. How many other breakthroughs from the past have we yet to rediscover? Hidden in a Jesuit library for centuries, a single book stands as the ultimate puzzle of the medieval world, the Voynich Manuscript. Its 240 fragile vellum pages are filled with looping, alien handwriting no one can read, accompanied by drawings of plants that don't exist, zodiac charts with impossible constellations, and naked women bathing in emerald green liquid. Since its rediscovery in 1912 by antique book dealer Wilfrid Voynich, this enigmatic text has defied every attempt at translation, resisting even the most advanced code-breaking techniques of World War II and modern artificial intelligence. What makes it so tantalizing isn't just the mystery of its contents, but the unsettling possibility that someone 500 years ago crafted a language so complex we still can't crack it today. The manuscript's illustrations only deepen the intrigue. One section bursts with fantastical botanicals, flowers with spiral roots, leaves like serpents, and fruits resembling tiny organs. Another features intricate astrological diagrams where unfamiliar stars form geometric patterns around zodiac symbols. Then there are the so-called biological pages, showing interconnected tubes and vessels resembling a surreal anatomy textbook. Most haunting are the hundreds of petite female figures, some crowned, others submerged in strange pools or holding star-shaped objects. Are these alchemical symbols, medical diagrams, or something far more esoteric? Linguists have analyzed the text structure with painstaking precision, uncovering patterns that suggest a real language rather than gibberish. The script follows Zipf's law, a statistical rule governing word frequency in natural languages, and has distinct syntax with verbs and nouns in expected positions. Yet no one can match its characters to any known alphabet, cipher, or shorthand system. Some theorists propose it's an extinct dialect, encrypted to protect herbal secrets or heretical knowledge. Others argue it's an early constructed language, like a medieval version of Esperanto. Then there's the most controversial claim that the whole thing is an elaborate Renaissance-era prank, designed to frustrate future generations. Recent breakthroughs only add to the confusion. In 2019, researchers using artificial intelligence suggested the text might be Hebrew encoded through alphagram substitution, but their translations produced fragmented, nonsensical phrases like, "She made recommendations to the priest," alongside plant names. Meanwhile, carbon dating confirms the vellum is from the early 15th century, and the ink's composition matches European recipes of that era. This wasn't some modern forgery. It was crafted in a time when Gutenberg's printing press was still decades away. Perhaps the most chilling clue lies in a faded signature on the first page, Jacobus de Tepanes, an alchemist and courtier to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf Roman II. Rudolf's court was a hotbed of occult research, where scholars traded secrets on everything from philosophers' stones to eternal life. Was the Voynich Manuscript their ultimate experiment, a coded repository of forbidden knowledge, or simply the ravings of a lone, brilliant eccentric? The book's resistance to decoding forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth: some doors to the past might remain forever locked. Unlike the Antikythera Mechanism or Roman concrete, the Voynich Manuscript refuses to yield its secrets, standing as a silent testament to the limits of modern understanding. It whispers that history isn't just what we've preserved, but what we've lost, and what we may never fully comprehend. Every failed attempt to read its pages is a reminder that the past guards its mysteries fiercely, and some codes were never meant to be broken. Rising 23 feet above the ruins of Delhi's Qutb complex, an iron pillar has silently defied the laws of chemistry for 16 centuries. While modern steel structures succumb to rust within decades, this ancient marvel, weighing over 6 tons, remains as pristine as the day it was forged. No protective coatings, no maintenance, just pure metallurgical genius frozen in time. The secret, a recipe so advanced it took modern scientists until the 1990s to unravel its mysteries. Buried within the pillar's iron lies an unexpected ingredient, phosphorus, mixed at nearly 1% concentration. Unlike today's steel, where phosphorus is considered an impurity that causes brittleness, ancient Indian smiths deliberately added it, creating a thin, invisible barrier of iron-hydrogen phosphate. This film, just microns thick, forms a self-repairing shield against moisture and oxygen. When scratches or weathering threaten to expose fresh metal, the phosphorus reacts with air and moisture to regenerate the protective layer, a process called passivation that modern engineers strive to replicate with synthetic coatings. The craftsmanship goes beyond chemistry. Analysis reveals the pillar was forged from a single, massive bloom of iron, hammered and welded at temperatures precise enough to distribute the phosphorus evenly without creating weak spots. Such control suggests a mastery of furnace technology and temperature, monitoring far beyond what historians believed possible in 4th century India. Even more baffling, the pillar's inscriptions credit its creation to King Chandragupta II's reign, yet no other artifacts from that era show comparable rust resistance. Was this a one-off experiment or the lone survivor of a lost tradition? Modern attempts to recreate the pillar's alloy have yielded mixed results. While laboratory samples show impressive corrosion resistance, none match the Delhi pillar's endurance. Some researchers speculate that Delhi's dry climate plays a role, but identical pillars in more humid regions, like the rust-free iron beams in the Konark Sun Temple, suggest otherwise. Others point to the pillar's original purpose. Mounted atop a temple, it may have been periodically coated with ceremonial oils that enhanced its protective layer. What lingers isn't just admiration for ancient skill, but a profound question: how did metalworkers without spectrometers or atomic theory achieve what our best materials science still can't perfectly replicate? The pillar stands as both a monument and a challenge, its gleaming surface a mirror reflecting how much we've yet to learn from the past. In an age where we replace smartphones every few years, this 16th-century-old testament to durability whispers that true innovation isn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it's about rediscovering what was forgotten. Stretching across nearly 200 square miles of Peru's arid plateau, the Nazca Lines form one of archaeology's most breathtaking enigmas. Colossal drawings so vast, their true forms only reveal themselves from the sky. Created between 500 BC and 500 CE by the ancient Nazca people, these geoglyphs depict everything from hummingbirds with wingspans rivaling jumbo jets to a 440-foot-long spider, its legs perfectly proportioned as if drawn by a giant steady hand. The precision is staggering. Straight lines run for miles without deviation, while spiral tails of monkeys and the intricate petals of flowers maintain flawless symmetry across uneven terrain. How could a culture without aerial vision or modern surveying tools achieve such perfection? The answer lies in a blend of ingenuity and mystery that still divides experts today. One prevailing theory suggests the Nazca used scaled-down models and simple grids to transfer designs onto the desert canvas. By driving stakes into the ground and connecting them with ropes, they could enlarge small sketches into massive earthworks, removing the reddish surface pebbles to expose lighter soil beneath. This technique, known as quadrant replication, would explain how they maintained proportions, but not how they kept lines perfectly straight across miles of rocky hills. Some researchers point to the Nazca's advanced understanding of celestial alignment, noting that many lines mirror solstice sunrises or constellations visible in the Andean night sky. Others propose they used basic surveying tools like the quipu, knotted cords used for counting, to measure angles and distances with surprising accuracy. Yet even these explanations falter when confronted with the Nazca's most complex designs. Take the famed astronaut figure, a towering humanoid with owl-like eyes appearing to float midair, or the tree glyph, whose branching lines align with underground water sources. These aren't just art, they're layered with meaning, possibly serving as ritual pathways, astronomical calendars, or even messages to deities. The most haunting theory comes from researcher Maria Reich, who spent decades mapping the lines and believed they formed a sacred labyrinth walked by priests during ceremonies. Her work revealed how certain glyphs align with mountain springs, suggesting the Nazca might have used them in water rituals vital for survival in the desert. But what fuels modern fascination are the wilder hypotheses. Could the lines have been landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors, as some mid-century theorists claimed? Or perhaps giant loom designs meant to be woven with ceremonial processions? The truth may be simpler yet more profound. The Nazca Lines testify to humanity's timeless drive to leave monumental marks on the world, blending art, science, and spirituality into something transcendent. Today, drones and satellite imaging continue to uncover new glyphs, each discovery peeling back another layer of this ancient mystery. The desert still whispers its secrets, reminding us that some masterpieces weren't meant to be seen from the ground, but etched into the earth for the cosmos to witness. Unearthed in 1908 by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernia, the Phaistos Disc sits quietly in a Cretan museum, its secrets locked behind 45 spiraling symbols stamped into clay. About 6 inches in diameter and dating back to 1700 BCE, this fired clay artifact is the only known example of its kind. No other Minoan object bears this strange, spiraled script. The symbols, arranged in groups separated by etched lines, resemble everything from human figures and fish to shields and beehives, all pressed into the disc with such precision that scholars initially suspected it was a fake. But radiocarbon dating confirms its authenticity, leaving us with a puzzle that's defied translation for over a century. Why would an advanced civilization like the Minoans, who left behind sprawling palaces and vivid frescoes, create a written message so unique that it appears nowhere else in their ruins? One prevailing theory suggests the disc was a sacred object, its symbols encoding hymns or prayers meant to be read aloud in rituals. The spiral pattern, winding inward like a labyrinth, mirrors the twisting passages of Minoan religious sites, hinting at a connection to their worship of the mother goddess. Others argue it might have been an early board game, with the symbols representing spaces for players to move tokens, a Bronze Age precursor to modern tabletop games. Then there's the tantalizing possibility that it's a diplomatic document, perhaps a treaty or royal proclamation, stamped with seals to authenticate its message. The trouble is, without a Rosetta Stone to provide a key, every attempt at decipherment collapses into speculation. What makes the Phaistos Disc uniquely frustrating is its isolation. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform, which appear across countless artifacts, this script exists in a vacuum. Linguists have tried matching its symbols to Linear A, the Minoan administrative script, but the overlap is minimal. Some see similarities to Anatolian or Cypriot syllabaries, while cryptographers have applied everything from frequency analysis to AI algorithms, yet no translation holds up to scrutiny. Even the direction of reading is debated. Should the spirals be followed inward like a tightening coil or outward, as if unfurling a story? The most compelling clue might lie in how the disc was made. Each symbol was pressed into wet clay using individual stamps, a technique that predates movable type by 3,000 years. This suggests the Minoans had a system of reusable glyphs, implying the script was standardized enough to merit such tools. Were there once other discs now lost to time that could have cracked the code, or was this a lone experiment in writing, abandoned when its creator died? Standing before the Phaistos Disc, you're struck by the eerie silence of its symbols. They whisper of a sophistication we've barely glimpsed, a flicker of intellectual daring in a world we thought we understood. Whether prayer, game, or forgotten alphabet, it challenges our assumptions about how ideas traveled in the ancient world and how much we still have left to learn. The disc isn't just a relic, it's a mirror, reflecting back our own limitations in the face of history's stubborn mysteries. Buried in the sands of Saqqara in 1898, a small wooden artifact emerged from an ancient tomb, a delicate, bird-like figure with wings too precise, too aerodynamic to be mere decoration. Known as the Saqqara Bird, this 2,000-year-old carving measures just 7 inches long, yet its design sends shivers down the spines of engineers. The wings aren't flat like traditional bird sculptures. They're subtly curved, mimicking the airfoil shape of a modern aircraft wing. Even more startling, the tail fin stands upright like a rudder, a feature no real bird possesses. When scaled up and tested in wind tunnels, replica models demonstrate remarkable glide capabilities, rivaling paper airplanes crafted with today's knowledge of physics. How could a civilization that never left the ground design something that performs so uncannily like a glider? One school of thought argues the Saqqara bird was a ceremonial object, perhaps a child's toy or a ritual symbol representing the falcon god Horus. Yet its proportions defy typical Egyptian art where stylized symmetry ruled. This piece prioritizes asymmetrical precision. Aviation historian Simon Sanderson reconstructed the artifact in 2006, adding only a missing horizontal stabilizer, and found it could soar nearly 800 feet when launched by hand. The implications are dizzying. Either the ancient Egyptians stumbled upon aerodynamic principles by chance, or someone in their ranks was experimenting with flight centuries before Da Vinci sketched his famous ornithopter. Skeptics point out that without evidence of propulsion or steering mechanisms, calling it a model airplane might be a stretch. But consider this: Egyptian tombs often contained miniature replicas of tools, boats, and even buildings meant for the afterlife. Could the Saqqara bird represent a full-scale craft lost to time? Hieroglyphs speak of sky boats piloted by gods, while the Pharaoh's Flyer, a mysterious glyph in Abydos temple, appears to depict futuristic-looking aircraft to modern eyes. Of course, pareidolia, the tendency to see familiar shapes in random patterns, might explain these interpretations. Yet when cultures separated by oceans, like the Pre-Columbian Quimbaya artifacts of Colombia, produced similar gold figurines resembling jets, it forces us to wonder, were ancient societies glimpsing something beyond their technological grasp? The truth may lie somewhere between symbolism and serendipity, perhaps a gifted artisan observing how curved palm leaves caught the wind, translated that insight into wood. Or maybe the bird's design was purely spiritual, its accidental aerodynamics a reminder that genius often emerges where science and art collide. Whatever its purpose, the Saqqara bird soars beyond easy categorization, leaving us to ponder whether the dream of flight took wing far earlier than history books claim. In the rugged mountains of California's Koso Range, a discovery in 1961 sparked a debate that still rages today: a mechanical-looking object encased in what appeared to be a 500,000-year-old geode. When cracked open, the hardened nodule revealed a ceramic cylinder with a metal core, surrounded by hexagonal casing fragments that bore an uncanny resemblance to a 1920s-era Champion spark plug. At first glance, it seemed like a simple case of a modern artifact lodged within ancient rock, but the deeper researchers looked, the more perplexing the details became. The controversy centers around the geological analysis. Geodes typically form over hundreds of thousands of years as mineral-rich water deposits layers of quartz or chalcedony. Yet X-rays showed the object inside wasn't just lying in a cavity. It was surrounded by hardened sediments that appeared to have formed around it. When examined under microscopes, the surrounding material showed no signs of tool marks or gaps that would suggest insertion. Instead, the metallic components showed corrosion patterns consistent with extreme age, including a rare form of oxidation that usually develops over millennia. Skeptics argue the geode might actually be a concretion, a quicker-forming mineral deposit that could encapsulate objects within decades rather than eons. They point to similar cases where old mining equipment became encased in iron-rich sediments within a human lifetime. Yet even this explanation stumbles when confronting the artifact's design. The ceramic insulator and copper alloy components match early 20th century technology, but the hexagonal collar lacks threading, an odd omission for a mass-produced spark plug. Some researchers propose it could be part of an early experimental electrical device, possibly from Nikola Tesla's workshops, though no records confirm such a prototype. Then there's the wild card theory that the object isn't man-made at all. A handful of scientists suggest the metallic core might be a rare example of a pyrofibrous pseudomorph, a natural formation where extreme heat and pressure mimic manufactured shapes. Similar phenomena occur in fulgurites, where lightning fuses sand into glass tubes resembling artificial pipes. Could the Koso artifact be nature's eerily perfect imitation of technology? What makes this humble object so compelling isn't just the mystery of its origin, but what it represents: a glitch in the timeline of human progress. If genuine, it implies either that advanced technology existed far earlier than recorded history, or that our understanding of geological processes is fundamentally incomplete. Like the Antikythera Mechanism or Baghdad Battery, it forces us to confront the uncomfortable gaps in our knowledge. The Koso artifact doesn't just challenge history, it dares us to reconsider what we're capable of missing. Buried within its stony shell lies a question as old as curiosity itself. How many other anomalies are waiting to be unearthed, silently rewriting the stories we thought we knew? Deep in the mountains of China's Bayan-Ha region, a discovery in 1938 sent shockwaves through the world of fringe archaeology. A collection of 740 stone discs, each roughly 12 inches wide, with spiral grooves leading to tiny hieroglyphs no one could read. Known as the Dropa stones, these artifacts were allegedly found by archaeologist Kai Pu-te in a cave system, buried alongside skeletal remains of beings with elongated skulls and frail bodies. According to the controversial account, when researchers finally decoded the discs' inscriptions decades later, they revealed an astonishing story. The Dropa people, stranded on Earth 12,000 years ago after their spacecraft crashed, left behind these records as evidence of their extraterrestrial origin. But here's where the plot thickens. No reputable institution has ever examined the stones, and mainstream archaeologists dismiss them as an elaborate hoax. So what's really going on? The first red flag emerges when tracing the disc's supposed translation. The story claims a Chinese scientist named Tsum Nui cracked the code in 1962, publishing a paper that was immediately suppressed by the government. Yet no record of this researcher exists outside fringe literature, and the Beijing Academy of Sciences denies any knowledge of the study. Even more suspicious. The hieroglyphs themselves, described as microscopic and perfectly carved, resemble no known ancient script, not Chinese oracle bones, not Tibetan petroglyphs, nothing. Some skeptics argue the entire tale was cobbled together from mid-century UFO lore, borrowing elements from popular sci-fi tropes of the era. But before we write off the Dropa stones completely, consider this: similar stone discs do exist in the region. Tibetan funeral artifacts called Lingling O often feature spiral patterns, though none bear inscriptions. Could the Dropa legend have grown from a misinterpretation of real cultural objects, or is there a sliver of truth hidden beneath the layers of myth? Proponents point to oddities like the Ural Mountains, megaliths of Russia, another set of unexplained stone formations with strange markings, as potential corroborating evidence of lost ancient technologies. The most compelling twist comes from material science. A few alleged fragments tested in the 1970s reportedly contained high concentrations of cobalt and other metals uncommon in local geology. While these claims remain unverified, they echo patterns seen in other ancient anomalies like the vitrified stone walls of Sacsayhuamon, where rocks seem fused by extreme heat. Could the discs have been part of some forgotten high-energy device? Or is this just another case of selective data fueling wild theories? What makes the Dropa stones fascinating isn't whether they're alien artifacts, it's why the story endures despite the lack of evidence. They tap into a universal curiosity about humanity's origins, offering a tantalizing what if that challenges official narratives. Like the Voynich Manuscript or the Antikythera Mechanism, they represent a blank canvas for our collective imagination. Whether hoax, legend, or misunderstood relic, their true power lies in the questions they force us to ask. How much of history remains hidden? And are we prepared for the answers we might find? Deep within the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a series of enigmatic carvings adorn the walls. Among them, a strikingly peculiar relief that looks like something straight out of a 19th century laboratory. Depicted inside an elongated, bulb-shaped object is what appears to be a glowing filament, snaking through the center like the tungsten wire in a modern incandescent light bulb. The structure is held aloft by a pillar, with what some interpret as electrical cables trailing away into the hands of a priest-like figure. At first glance, it's almost too uncanny. Could this be evidence that the ancient Egyptians had access to electric light thousands of years before Edison? Or is there a more symbolic explanation hidden in the sands of time? Mainstream Egyptologists have a compelling counterargument. They suggest the so-called Dendera light is actually a representation of the Djed pillar, a sacred symbol of stability, intertwined with a lotus flower and a serpent, an icon tied to the myth of the sun god Ra emerging from a primordial lotus. The filament might instead depict the snake god Harsomptus, symbolizing divine energy or the cycle of rebirth. Ancient Egyptian art was deeply allegorical, often merging multiple layers of meaning into a single image. To modern eyes trained on technology, it's easy to misinterpret symbolism as literal machinery. Yet the electricity theory isn't entirely without merit. Proponents point to the Baghdad Battery's clay jars capable of producing a small electrical charge as proof that ancient civilizations could have stumbled upon basic electrochemistry. Some even speculate that the underground chambers of Dendera, with their peculiar ventilation shafts and absence of soot marks common in torch-lit tombs, might have been designed for some form of illumination beyond fire. Could the carving be a coded blueprint, blending sacred imagery with practical innovation? The debate takes a fascinating turn when we examine the relief's context. Adjacent carvings show similar bulb-like objects cradled by gods, some emitting streams of energy resembling modern depictions of plasma discharge. Skeptics argue these are simply stylized sun rays or divine auras, but the precision of the lines raises questions. Why would a culture that mastered precision engineering in pyramid construction leave such ambiguous imagery unless it held deeper significance? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between the two extremes. The Egyptians were masterful observers of nature, and their understanding of bioelectricity, like the shocks from Nile catfish, might have inspired symbolic representations of invisible energy. The Dendera carving could be a bridge between myth and proto-science, a way to conceptualize forces they sensed but didn't yet fully comprehend. Whatever the answer, the Dendera relief forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Ancient civilizations often expressed ideas in ways that defy modern categorization. Whether it's a light bulb, a serpent, or something entirely different, this carving remains a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder that the past still holds mysteries no single interpretation can fully unravel. The walls of Dendera don't just depict history, they challenge us to question what we think we know about the boundaries of ancient innovation. For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood as the ultimate symbol of ancient engineering. But what if we've only scratched the surface of its secrets? In 2017, a team of scientists using cutting-edge muon tomography made a startling announcement. Hidden deep within the pyramid's colossal stone blocks lay at least two previously unknown voids, one stretching nearly 100 feet in length. These weren't just cracks or gaps in construction, their precise angles and dimensions suggested deliberate design. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community, reigniting age-old debates about what might still lie concealed within the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. One of these voids, dubbed the Big Void, sits directly above the Grand Gallery, aligned with mathematical precision that rules out coincidence. Early theories proposed it could be a hidden chamber meant to relieve structural stress, similar to the relieving chambers above the King's Chamber. But why would builders go to such lengths to conceal an architectural feature? Others speculate it might house unfinished burial spaces, abandoned when the pharaoh's plans changed. Then there's the more tantalizing possibility that these voids contain artifacts or records deliberately sealed away, perhaps even remnants of the advanced tools used to construct the pyramid itself. The mystery deepens when you consider the pyramid's other anomalies. Thermal scans have revealed patches of unusual heat signatures in the limestone, hinting at materials with different densities or even metallic objects behind the walls. Meanwhile, acoustic tests detect hollow spaces near known passages, suggesting a network of undiscovered corridors. French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin's theory posits that internal ramps winding through these voids could explain how massive blocks were lifted to such heights, a radical alternative to external ramp models that have long dominated Egyptology. But what truly captures the imagination are the whispers of lost technology. Ancient texts like the Westcar Papyrus describe the legendary iron of the sky, a material said to have been used by the gods to cut stone with supernatural precision. Could the voids hold fragments of such forgotten innovations, or perhaps they served as resonance chambers designed to amplify sound frequencies for rituals we can barely comprehend? The pyramid's alignment with celestial bodies and its precise mathematical proportions have long fueled speculation that it was more than a tomb. It might have been an ancient power plant, an astronomical observatory, or even a repository of knowledge from a pre-flood civilization. Modern technology could soon provide answers. Robotics teams are developing ultra-thin cameras capable of snaking through millimeter-wide cracks, while muon scanners grow ever more precise. Yet every breakthrough seems to unveil new questions. Why did the ancient builders go to such lengths to hide these spaces? What were they protecting or protecting us from? The Great Pyramid has guarded its secrets for 4.5 millennia, and as we stand on the brink of new discoveries, one truth becomes clear. The oldest wonder of the world still has wonders left to reveal. Its silent stones remind us that history isn't a puzzle we've solved, but a story we're still learning to read. In 1513, Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis compiled a map that would baffle historians for centuries, a chart so accurate it seemed to defy the limits of 16th century exploration. Stretching from the coasts of Europe and Africa to the shores of what appears to be South America, the map's precision is striking enough, but the real mystery lies in its southernmost detail, a landmass with jagged, ice-free coastlines that some researchers insist can only be Antarctica, a continent supposedly undiscovered until 1820. How could a mapmaker from the age of galleys and compasses depict a land buried under miles of ice, a terrain invisible to human eyes until modern radar imaging? The map's secrets begin with its own inscriptions. Piri Reis openly credited older sources, including charts from the time of Alexander the Great and even the infidels of China, suggesting he pieced together knowledge from lost civilizations. Most startling is his reference to maps used by Christopher Columbus, now vanished, which may have contained fragments of ancient geographic wisdom. When modern cartographers overlaid the Piri Reis map with satellite projections, they found near-perfect matches for coastlines like South America's eastern bulge, something European explorers hadn't fully mapped by 1513. But the southern landmass is the true enigma. Its contours align suspiciously well with subglacial scans of Antarctica's coastline, particularly the Queen Maud Land region, as if drawn when the continent was last ice-free, a condition last seen millions of years before humans existed. Skeptics offer alternative explanations. The land could be a distorted South America, its tip stretched eastward by common medieval cartographic errors. Others propose it's a mythical Terra Australis, a hypothetical continent many pre-modern maps included based on philosophical guesswork. Yet the precision of certain features like rivers and mountain ranges matching Antarctica's submerged topography fuels theories of an advanced pre-glacial civilization. Could the map preserve fragments of knowledge from a forgotten seafaring culture, one that explored the poles long before recorded history? The plot thickens when examining the map's technical sophistication. Piri Reis employed a modified Portolan style common for nautical charts, but with an uncanny understanding of spherical trigonometry, a science not formalized until centuries later. Some lines radiate from precise geometric points as if plotted using an ancient form of Mercator projection. Even more puzzling, the map accounts for Earth's curvature, a concept many claim medieval sailors hadn't yet grasped. What lingers isn't just the question of how Piri Reis knew these details, but why such knowledge vanished. If ancient explorers truly mapped Antarctica, where are their ships, their tools, their records? The map's survival hints at a fragile thread of inherited wisdom, passed through fires, wars, and the slow erosion of time. Today, as climate change peels back polar ice, revealing new contours beneath, the Piri Reis map whispers a haunting possibility that history's greatest discoveries might not lie ahead of us but buried behind, waiting to be remembered. Tucked away in the ruins of Nineveh, the ancient Assyrian capital, lies an artifact that could rewrite the history of science, the Nimrod lens, discovered in 1850 by archaeologist Austin Henry Layard. This oval-shaped piece of rock crystal dates back to 750 BC, nearly 3,000 years ago. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, slightly smaller than a modern magnifying glass, but when held to light, its true genius emerges. The lens's carefully ground surface bends light with enough precision to magnify small objects up to 3 times their size, a feat previously thought impossible before the Greeks experimented with optics centuries later. What makes this discovery so revolutionary isn't just its existence, but the tantalizing possibilities of its use. Some scholars argue it was a decorative inlay, perhaps part of a piece of jewelry or a ceremonial object. Yet its optical properties are too deliberate to dismiss as accidental. The lens's focal length and curvature suggest a sophisticated understanding of light refraction, raising the question, did the Assyrians pioneer tools like telescopes or microscopes long before recorded history credits them? One compelling theory points to astronomy. Assyrian stargazers meticulously tracked celestial movements, and cuneiform tablets detail observations of planets and comets. Could the lens have been part of a rudimentary telescope, allowing priests to study the heavens with unprecedented clarity? Others propose it aided craftsmen in intricate ivory carvings or seal engravings, where precision was paramount. The lens was found among glass artifacts, hinting at a workshop where magnification might have been essential, but the real enigma lies in its isolation. No other lenses from this era have been found, leaving experts to wonder, was this a one-off experiment or the sole survivor of a lost tradition? The ancient Assyrians were master engineers, constructing vast libraries and aqueducts, yet their potential optical advancements remain shadowed in mystery. Modern testing reveals the lens corrects some visual distortions, a feature that would require trial and error to achieve. How many prototypes were shattered before this one succeeded? The Nimrod lens forces us to confront a humbling truth. Human ingenuity often blooms in forgotten corners of history. While we celebrate the Greeks as the fathers of optics, this small crystal whispers that others may have seen further, literally and figuratively, long before. Whether it magnified the stars or the strokes of an artisan's tool, its legacy is clear. Innovation doesn't always leave a paper trail. Sometimes it's preserved in the quiet gleam of a 3,000-year-old lens, waiting for us to look closer. Deep in the jungles of Colombia, a cache of golden artifacts from the Quimbaya civilization has sparked a debate that blurs the line between ancient art and aeronautical engineering. Crafted between 1000 and 1500 CE, these intricate figurines, no larger than a human palm, bear an uncanny resemblance to modern fighter jets, complete with delta wings, vertical stabilizers, and even what appear to be cockpit canopies. Archaeologists officially categorize them as stylized birds, insects, or even fantastical fish, but the precision of their aerodynamic features leaves room for unsettling questions. How could a pre-Columbian culture, isolated from global technological exchange, conceive of shapes that wouldn't be optimized for flight until the 20th century? When German aeronautical engineers examined the artifacts in the 1990s, their findings sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Wind tunnel tests revealed that several of the figurines, particularly the so-called Pajaro de Autun, exhibited flight-worthy characteristics. Their swept-back wings and tapered bodies generated lift with surprising efficiency, while the positioning of tail fins suggested an intuitive grasp of stability in motion. Some replicas, when scaled up and fitted with lightweight engines, reportedly achieved stable gliding patterns. Skeptics argue these results are coincidental, pointing to similarities with seed pods or stingrays that might have inspired the designs. Yet the sheer variety of Quimbaya artifacts complicates this explanation. While some do resemble fauna, others lack any clear biological counterpart, their geometric sharpness echoing nothing in nature. The mystery deepens when you consider the cultural context. The Quimbaya were master metallurgists, producing thousands of gold objects with techniques like lost wax casting that allowed for astonishing detail. But why sculpt objects with such precise aerofoil sections if not to represent something airborne? Indigenous oral traditions speak of sky canoes piloted by gods, while Spanish conquistadors documented local legends of flying men adorned in golden suits. Could these stories be distorted memories of real technological experiments? or perhaps symbolic representations of shamanic visions induced by sacred plants. Modern attempts to reconcile the artifact's duality, art or blueprint, reveal just how little we understand about pre-Columbian innovation. Unlike the Nazca Lines or Antikythera Mechanism, the Quimbaya objects resist easy categorization. They exist in a liminal space between ritual and science, where the boundaries of imagination and observation blur. Whether they depict myth, nature, or something more extraordinary, their legacy soars beyond the confines of conventional history. These golden enigmas don't just challenge our timeline of human ingenuity, they invite us to reconsider how ancient cultures might have encoded advanced concepts in forms we're only beginning to recognize. In the year 132, during China's Han Dynasty, a brilliant scientist and inventor named Heng unveiled a device that would revolutionize humanity's understanding of natural disasters: the world's first seismoscope. This ornate bronze vessel, standing nearly 6 feet tall, was more than just a ceremonial object. It was a masterpiece of engineering, capable of detecting earthquakes hundreds of miles away with startling accuracy. At first glance, it resembled an elaborate wine jar, adorned with 8 dragon heads positioned around its circumference, each clutching a bronze ball. Below them, 8 corresponding toads sat with mouths agape, ready to catch whatever the dragons might release. But this was no decorative sculpture. It was a finely tuned instrument designed to sense the faintest tremors rippling through the earth. The mechanism inside was as elegant as it was mysterious. Historical records describe a central pendulum suspended within the vessel, delicately balanced to respond to seismic waves. When the ground shook, even slightly, the pendulum would sway, triggering a series of internal levers that caused one of the dragons to release its ball into the waiting mouth of a toad below. The direction of the fallen ball indicated the earthquake's epicenter, while the force of the tremor could supposedly be gauged by how far the pendulum swung. Modern engineers who have reconstructed the device using Han-era materials confirm it works with surprising reliability, able to detect quakes too faint for human perception. But the original mechanism's exact design remains lost to time, leaving us to wonder, how did Zhang Heng and his contemporaries achieve such precision without modern seismology? One theory suggests the Han Dynasty's advanced metallurgy played a crucial role. The seismoscope's bronze components were cast with exceptional craftsmanship, allowing for smooth, frictionless movement inside the vessel. The pendulum itself might have been weighted with a rare mineral or alloy to enhance its sensitivity. Another clue lies in ancient Chinese texts describing Earth Kai, an invisible energy believed to flow through the land. Zhang Heng, a polymath who also mapped the stars and invented the first water-powered armillary sphere, may have drawn on this concept to explain seismic waves long before modern science defined them. What's truly remarkable is how far ahead of its time this invention was. Europe wouldn't develop a functional seismometer until the 19th century, over 1700 years later. And unlike modern devices that rely on electronic sensors, Zhang Heng's seismoscope needed no external power, just the subtle vibrations of the Earth itself. Some accounts even claim it once detected a quake 400 miles away, prompting skepticism until messengers arrived days later confirming the disaster. The real tragedy is that not a single original seismoscope survives today. Whether lost to war, decay, or the ravages of time, their absence leaves a gap in our understanding of ancient innovation. Replicas hint at their brilliance, but the full sophistication of Zhang Heng's design may never be recovered. What other seismic secrets did these devices hold? Could they have predicted aftershocks or gauged depth as well as direction? the answers might remain buried, much like the seismic waves they once so artfully revealed. Zhang Heng's Seismoscope stands as a testament to a time when science and artistry were inseparable, where a bronze dragon's jaws could unlock the mysteries of the Earth itself. In an age before satellites or sensors, this was humanity's first whisper of a conversation with the planet's hidden forces. And though the original voice is silent, its echo still resonates across the centuries. Deep in the rainforests of Costa Rica's Diquis Delta, a series of enigmatic stone spheres lie scattered across the landscape, hundreds of them, ranging from the size of a bowling ball to massive orbs weighing 16 tons. Carved with near-perfect precision, their surfaces are so smooth they seem polished by modern machinery, their spherical accuracy deviating by less than 2% from true perfection. First uncovered in the 1930s when the United Fruit Company cleared land for banana plantations, these artifacts date back to at least 600 CE, crafted by a culture so mysterious we don't even know what they called themselves. How did a civilization without metal tools or written language achieve such geometric mastery? And why go to such lengths to shape stones that serve no obvious practical purpose? The most baffling aspect isn't just the sphere's precision, but the material they're made from granodiorite, an incredibly hard igneous rock. Modern sculptors would struggle to shape this stone without diamond-tipped tools, yet the Diquis people somehow carved, smoothed, and transported these massive orbs across miles of rugged terrain. Archaeologists speculate they might have used a combination of heating and cooling techniques, applying fire to fracture the stone before painstakingly pecking and grinding it into shape with other rocks. Some spheres show evidence of being polished with sand or leather, a process that would have taken generations to complete. But here's the real puzzle: many were found arranged in geometric patterns, lines, and even astronomical alignments, suggesting their placement was as intentional as their craftsmanship. One leading theory posits the spheres functioned as celestial markers, their arrangements mirroring constellations or solstice events. Certain groupings align with the sun's path during equinoxes, while others point to significant landmarks like mountain peaks or river mouths. Another hypothesis suggests they were status symbols, erected by chieftains to mark territory or commemorate alliances. Local legends speak of the spheres as gifts from the gods, or even relics from the lost city of Atlantis, though these tales blur the line between folklore and fact. The mystery deepens when you consider their context. Unlike pyramids or temples, the spheres lack carvings, inscriptions, or any clear cultural symbolism. They're blank canvases, their silence forcing us to project our own interpretations onto them. Recent LiDAR scans have revealed more spheres buried beneath the jungle floor, hinting at a vast network we've only begun to uncover. Were they part of a grand ceremonial complex now lost to time, or perhaps navigational aids for a society that mapped the land in ways we can't yet decipher? What makes these stones so captivating isn't just their perfection, but what they represent: a collision of art, science, and spirituality. In a world without wheels or written language, their creators achieved a level of precision that rivals modern engineering. They challenge our assumptions about pre-Columbian societies, hinting at knowledge passed down through generations, then abruptly abandoned. Today, as archaeologists piece together fragments of the Diquis culture, the spheres remain their most eloquent yet inscrutable legacy. They don't just sit in the jungle, they silently roll through history, daring us to unravel their secrets. For centuries, Viking sagas spoke of a mysterious sunstone, a magical crystal that allowed sailors to navigate the open ocean even when clouds obscured the sun. These stories were long dismissed as legend until a discovery in 2002 changed everything. Aboard a sunken Elizabethan ship off the coast of Alderney, archaeologists uncovered a piece of Iceland spar, a transparent calcite crystal nestled beside navigational tools. Suddenly, the old tales took on new weight. Could this be the Vikings' fabled sunstone? And if so, how did a civilization without formal optics harness the power of polarized light centuries before scientists understood it? The key lies in calcite's unique optical properties. When light passes through this crystal, it splits into two beams, a phenomenon called birefringence. By rotating the stone until these beams align in equal brightness, a navigator can pinpoint the sun's position with eerie accuracy, even through thick fog or twilight. Modern experiments confirm it works. In 2011, researchers using Iceland spar under overcast skies determined the sun's location within 5 degrees close enough to guide a longship across the North Atlantic. What's astonishing isn't just the method's effectiveness, but the Vikings' apparent understanding of it. Without knowledge of light polarization, how did they recognize this crystal's potential? One theory suggests they stumbled upon the technique by accident. Norse traders frequently transported calcite as a decorative stone, and its light-bending properties would have been visible to anyone holding it toward the sky. Observant navigators might have noticed how the crystal's appearance changed with the sun's angle, eventually refining its use into a reliable tool. Others argue the knowledge came from earlier seafaring cultures, perhaps the Arabs or Chinese, who also experimented with light-refracting crystals. But the Vikings' application was uniquely practical. While other civilizations used such stones for divination or art, Norse sailors turned them into precision instruments. The sunstone's true brilliance lies in its simplicity. Unlike modern compasses, it never loses magnetism, doesn't rely on clear skies, and requires no complex mechanics. Paired with their other navigational aids like horizon boards and knowledge of bird migrations, it gave Vikings an unparalleled edge in exploration. Some scholars believe it explains their ability to reach places like Newfoundland centuries before Columbus, braving open waters where traditional methods would fail. Yet the sunstone story also highlights how fragile ancient knowledge can be. By the time European explorers set sail in the Renaissance, the technique had vanished, replaced by magnetic compasses. Only now, through a blend of archaeology and physics, are we rediscovering what the Vikings knew all along. Their sunstone wasn't magic, it was science so advanced it took us 800 years to catch up. In an age where we rely on satellites and GPS, this humble crystal reminds us that sometimes the sharpest tools for navigating the unknown come not from circuits, but from the Earth itself. Held in the British Museum's collection, the Lycurgus cup seems unremarkable at first glance until you shine light through it. This 4th century Roman glass chalice shifts from a subdued jade green in reflected light to a luminous ruby red when backlit, as if infused with magic. But the real sorcery isn't supernatural, it's scientific. Embedded within its glass are gold and silver particles so infinitesimally small, they measure between 50 and 100 nanometers across, 1,000 times thinner than a human hair. At this scale, metals behave unlike anything in our everyday experience. When hit by light, electrons in these nanoparticles vibrate at specific frequencies, scattering certain wavelengths and transforming the cup's color based on the observer's perspective. Today, we call this phenomenon surface plasmon resonance, a principle underpinning modern nanotechnology. The staggering implication: Roman artisans were manipulating matter at the atomic level 1,600 years before microscopes could even reveal such particles existed. How did they achieve this microscopic mastery? The answer lies in a lost recipe blending metallurgy, chemistry, and sheer trial and error. Historians believe craftsmen added finely ground gold and silver dust to molten glass, then carefully reheated and cooled it to control particle size. The precision required was breathtaking. Too much metal, and the glass would turn opaque. Too little, and the effect would vanish. Even more astonishing, the particles aren't randomly scattered. Transmission electron microscopy reveals they're evenly distributed, suggesting the Romans understood that consistency was key to the color shift. Some researchers speculate they used plant extracts or other organic compounds to stabilize the nanoparticles during firing, a technique modern labs only rediscovered in the 1990s. The cup's purpose deepens the mystery, named for its depiction of King Lycurgus trapped in vine tendrils, a scene from Greek mythology. It was likely a ceremonial vessel for elites. But why invest such effort into a drinking cup? One theory ties it to the cult of Dionysus, where wine's color transformation might have symbolized divine metamorphosis. Another suggests it was a flex of imperial technological might, like displaying a smartphone in the Middle Ages. The irony is crushing. This delicate object survived wars and sackings, while the knowledge to create it vanished with Rome's fall. Medieval stained glass artists couldn't replicate it, nor could Renaissance alchemists. Even when Michael Faraday studied nanoparticle suspensions in 1857, he couldn't match the cup's vibrancy. What makes the Lycurgus cup extraordinary isn't just its beauty, but what it reveals about ancient innovation. This wasn't accidental alchemy, it was systematic materials science, honed through generations of observation and refinement. In a world without atomic theory, Roman craftsmen became nanotechnologists through intuition and meticulous craftsmanship. Today, their legacy lives on in medical diagnostics and touchscreens, where gold nanoparticles detect diseases or conduct electricity. The cup whispers a provocative truth. Sometimes the path to the future begins with rediscovering the past's forgotten brilliance. Beneath the dusty plains of modern-day Pakistan lies a marvel of urban planning so advanced it wouldn't be matched until the 19th century, the meticulously engineered sanitation system of Mohenjo-Daro. Built around 2500 BCE, this Indus Valley metropolis boasted a network of brick-lined drains, indoor toilets, and even manhole covers, all part of a civilization that prioritized hygiene with a sophistication unmatched for millennia. While contemporaries like Mesopotamia and Egypt focused on grand temples, Mohenjo-Daro's engineers were perfecting something far more revolutionary: public health infrastructure that rivaled modern cities. How did a culture without microscopes or germ theory develop such an intricate understanding of sanitation? And why did this knowledge vanish, leaving Europe to endure centuries of filth and plague before rediscovering these principles? The genius of Mohenjo-Daro's design lies in its simplicity and foresight. Houses weren't just equipped with toilets, they featured vertical chutes that funneled waste directly into covered street drains, a system eerily similar to modern sewer lines. These drains, constructed from precisely fitted bricks and sealed with tar to prevent leaks, sloped gently to ensure water flow, emptying into larger cesspits outside the city walls. Even more impressive, the entire network was designed with maintenance in mind. Regular intervals featured removable bricks for cleaning, while grates prevented debris from clogging the channels. This wasn't haphazard construction. It was a masterclass in urban planning, anticipating problems modern engineers still grapple with today. What's truly baffling is how this system reflects an almost scientific understanding of disease prevention. Unlike later civilizations that attributed illness to miasmas or divine punishment, the Indus Valley people seem to grasp, at least empirically, that separating waste from living spaces improved health. Archaeologists have found evidence of bathing platforms in nearly every home, along with sophisticated wells that drew clean water from deep underground. The city's layout itself promoted hygiene, with wide streets allowing sunlight and air to circulate, reducing stagnant moisture where pathogens thrive. Yet the mystery of Mohenjo-Daro isn't just its brilliance, but its disappearance. When the Indus Valley civilization declined around 1900 BCE, their sanitation knowledge evaporated with them. Europe wouldn't see comparable systems until the Victorian era, nearly 4,000 years later. Some scholars blame climate change or invading forces disrupting the social order, but the deeper tragedy lies in how easily such advancements can be lost. Without written records, Indus script remains undeciphered. The meticulous practices of these ancient engineers faded into obscurity. Modern excavations reveal haunting parallels between their world and ours. In an era where pandemics and water scarcity dominate global concerns, Mohenjo-Daro stands as a testament to the timeless value of intelligent design. Their sewers weren't just functional, they were a philosophy etched in brick, a belief that civilization thrives when it cares for the collective well-being. As climate change threatens modern infrastructure, their buried legacy whispers a warning: progress isn't inevitable. It's a fragile thread woven by foresight and all too easily unraveled by time. While the seismoscope revealed Zhang Heng's genius for detecting earthquakes, another of his inventions blurred the line between earth and sky: the enigmatic weather vane, designed to predict seismic activity through atmospheric changes. Historical records describe a towering bronze column adorned with intricate carvings of wind deities, their outstretched arms holding delicate metal plates that clinked and swayed with the slightest breeze. But this was no ordinary wind indicator. According to ancient texts, specific patterns of movement, sudden shifts in direction, or plates vibrating without visible wind foretold not just storms, but impending earthquakes days before the ground trembled. Modern seismologists are only now beginning to understand what Zhang Heng might have observed: the subtle interplay between tectonic stress and atmospheric disturbances that science is still unraveling. At the heart of this device was a radical idea that earthquakes weren't isolated events, but part of a dynamic conversation between land and sky. Han Dynasty scholars documented strange weather phenomena preceding quakes: unseasonal mists, abrupt temperature drops, or eerie calm where winds should blow. Zhang Heng's weather vane systematized these observations, transforming folklore into empirical forecasting. The mechanism's precision was staggering. Some accounts suggest it could differentiate between benign gusts and earth winds, the latter allegedly carrying charged particles released by subterranean rock fractures. While we lack the original blueprints, reconstructions based on contemporary metallurgy reveal clever details: copper filaments tuned to resonate at frequencies linked to seismic waves, or lodestone bearings reducing friction for hypersensitivity. What's truly groundbreaking is how this invention defies modern disciplinary boundaries. Today, we separate seismology from meteorology, but Zhang Heng saw them as intertwined. His theory of Earth Chi proposed that subterranean energy surges disrupted air currents, creating detectable atmospheric signatures. Recent studies lend eerie credence to this idea. Satellite data has captured ionospheric disturbances before major quakes, while lab experiments show stressed rocks emitting gases that alter local humidity. The weather vane might have been sensing these very phenomena, its bronze tongues twitching to the whispers of a planet under strain. Yet the greatest mystery isn't how it worked, but why the knowledge vanished. Later Chinese dynasties preserved the device but seemingly lost its seismic purpose, reducing it to ceremonial decor. Europe wouldn't explore quake weather links until the 18th century, and even now, mainstream science debates their validity. Perhaps the answer lies in the vane's fragility. Its predictions relied on generations of meticulous record-keeping, a chain broken by war and time. Or maybe its effectiveness demanded something modern society still struggles with, listening to nature's subtle warnings, whispered not in data points but in the dance of metal and wind. Zhang Heng's weather vane stands as a testament to observation honed to near instinct. In an age without satellites or sensors, it turned the sky itself into an early warning system, its silent language decoded by a mind that saw connections invisible to most. As scientists today probe the frontiers of earthquake forecasting, they're rediscovering what this Han Dynasty polymath knew all along, that the Earth speaks long before it shakes, if only we know how to listen. In the bustling workshops of 1st century Alexandria, an inventor named Hero demonstrated a device that could have rewritten history, the Eolipile, a gleaming bronze sphere perched on a stand, hissing with the power of steam. When heated, water inside the sphere transformed into vapor, jetting out through 2 curved nozzles and sending the entire apparatus spinning in a mesmerizing display of rotary motion. This wasn't just a curiosity, it was the world's first steam turbine, a working prototype of mechanized power built 1700 years before James Watt's Industrial Revolution. The Greeks had unlocked the secret of steam energy, yet this breakthrough vanished into obscurity. Why didn't Hero's invention spark the same transformative wave that would later reshape the modern world? The answer lies not in the device itself, but in the society that birthed it. Hero's Eolipile was a marvel of engineering, but it existed in a culture that saw no urgent need for machines to replace human labor. Ancient Greece and Rome relied on abundant enslaved workforces, making the economic incentive for automation virtually non-existent. Unlike 18th century Britain, where coal mines demanded efficient pumps and textile mills craved faster production, the Mediterranean world had no pressing drive to industrialize. The Eolipile remained a temple wonder, a party trick for impressing audiences rather than a tool for transforming industry. But the real tragedy isn't just the missed opportunity, it's how close the ancient world came to grasping the full potential of steam. Hero's writings describe other steam-powered devices, including a primitive automatic door opener and a mechanical puppet theater. His contemporaries understood the principles of pressure and vacuum, and even experimented with gear systems that could have translated rotary motion into practical work. All the puzzle pieces were there, yet no one thought to assemble them into something revolutionary. Some historians argue that the limiting factor wasn't just social structure, but materials. The metallurgy of the time couldn't produce the high-pressure boilers needed for large-scale steam engines, and the Eolipile's bronze construction would have been prohibitively expensive for mass production. Yet others counter that with enough demand, these hurdles could have been overcome after all. The Romans built aqueducts and siege engines of staggering complexity. The deeper truth may be that innovation requires more than brilliance, it needs a world ready to receive it. Hero's steam engine stands as a haunting what-if of history. What if Rome had industrialized? Would their roads have thundered with steam wagons, or their factories hummed with mechanical looms? The Eolipile whispers a provocative lesson. Progress isn't just about invention, but about the intersection of technology, economics, and imagination. It's a reminder that the seeds of the future often lie dormant in the past, waiting for the right conditions to sprout. The open seas of the ancient world held more than just storms and enemy fleets. They teemed with an invisible enemy capable of sinking ships without a single battle. Wood-boring teredo worms, often called termites of the sea, could reduce a mighty Roman warship to Swiss cheese in months, gnawing labyrinthine tunnels through hulls with relentless efficiency. Yet the Romans didn't just surrender their vessels to these ravenous mollusks. They fought back with an ingenious coating so effective, modern scientists still can't replicate its full potency. Discoveries of remarkably preserved shipwrecks, their timbers eerily untouched by marine borers, hint at a lost alchemy of natural compounds that once shielded an empire's navy beneath the waves. The secret likely lay in a concoction known as venenum navale, described fragmentarily in texts by Pliny the Elder. This viscous blend combined pitch, sulfur, and crushed herbs, but the true magic came from two mysterious ingredients referred to only as dentes leporis and sanguis draconis. Scholars now suspect these cryptic names masked substances with potent biocidal properties. Dentes leporis, or hare's tooth, might have been a misdirection for sea hare ink, a natural secretion known to repel predators with its toxic alkaloids. Meanwhile, sanguis draconis, dragon's blood, could refer to the crimson resin of the dracena tree, still used today in traditional antifungal treatments. When blended with heated pine tar, these elements may have formed a slow-releasing chemical barrier, poisoning worms upon contact while sealing wood pores against larvae. Modern attempts to recreate the formula have yielded only partial success. Laboratory tests show that while individual ingredients deter borers temporarily, none match the long-term protection observed in archaeological finds. The missing piece, possibly a now extinct Mediterranean plant or a forgotten processing technique. Roman shipyards reportedly aged their mixtures in lead-lined vats, a method that might have triggered catalytic reactions, enhancing toxicity. Marine biologists note that some protected wrecks show traces of copper salts, suggesting the coating could have reacted with seawater to form additional antimicrobial compounds over time. What's truly astonishing is the coating's ecological intelligence. Unlike modern antifouling paints that leach heavy metals, the Roman solution appears to have been selectively lethal, sparing fish and coral while targeting borers. Recent analysis of sediment around treated hulls reveals no toxic buildup, implying a biodegradability that today's chemists struggle to achieve without sacrificing effectiveness. This wasn't just pest control, it was a harmonious negotiation with nature, refined through centuries of observation. The tragedy isn't just that the recipe vanished with Rome's fall, but that we're only now grasping its sophistication. As shipworms today threaten coastal infrastructures globally, costing billions in pier repairs, the urgency to rediscover this ancient wisdom grows. Perhaps the answer lies not in a single ingredient, but in a holistic approach the Romans mastered, viewing the ship not as separate from the sea, but as part of an ecosystem to be balanced rather than dominated. Their silent hulls, resting undamaged for millennia on the ocean floor, may yet hold the key to a greener solution hidden in plain sight. Buried in the graves of Viking warriors across Europe, a handful of swords stand apart, not just for their deadly elegance, but for the impossible steel they're forged from. The Ulfberht blades, marked with that enigmatic name inlaid with silver or gold, are miracles of metallurgy. Dating between the 9th and 11th centuries, these weapons weren't just superior to their contemporaries, they rivaled the quality of modern steel, with a purity and flexibility that shouldn't have existed in medieval Europe. While most Viking swords were crude, pattern-welded iron, prone to bending and shattering, the Ulfberhts were crafted from crucible steel, a material so advanced, historians long believed it couldn't have been produced locally. The mystery isn't just how these blades were made, but how the knowledge to create them reached the frozen north at all. The secret lies in the steel's composition. Modern metallurgical analysis reveals Ulfberhts contain less than 1% slag, the brittle impurities that plague iron smelted in European bloomery furnaces. Instead, the metal boasts a near-perfect carbon content of around 1.5%, mirroring the quality of high-grade tool steel today. This level of purity requires temperatures exceeding 1600 degrees Celsius, a heat unattainable in Norse forges. Even more baffling, the steel contains traces of vanadium and other rare elements, pointing to an origin thousands of miles away, likely the mines of Central Asia or Persia, where crucible steel production was a guarded art. So how did these exotic blades end up in Viking hands? One theory suggests Norse traders ventured down the Volga trade routes, bartering furs and amber for ingots of this supersteel with Islamic merchants. Arabic coins and silks found in Scandinavian graves support this idea, proving contact between these distant cultures. But another, more radical possibility emerges, that Viking smiths didn't just import the steel, they reverse-engineered the process. A handful of Ulfberts show subtle flaws in their inscriptions, hinting at local copies made by craftsmen attempting to replicate the foreign technique. Did a handful of Norse metallurgists crack the code of crucible steel, only for the knowledge to vanish with them? The sword's decline adds another layer of intrigue. By the 12th century, Ulfberts disappear from the archaeological record, replaced by cruder weapons. Some scholars blame the collapse of Eastern trade routes, while others point to the Black Death wiping out master smiths. But perhaps the most haunting explanation is that the blades were too perfect for their time. Without the infrastructure to mass-produce such steel, each Ulfberht remained a rare masterpiece, destined to fade into legend. Today, as scientists use electron microscopes to decode their secrets, these swords cut through history's assumptions, proving the Viking world was far more connected and far more ingenious than we ever imagined. In the heart of ancient Alexandria, where scholars pushed the boundaries of knowledge, an inventor named Ctesibius crafted a timekeeping marvel that would remain unrivaled for 15 centuries. A water clock so precise it could measure hours with an accuracy medieval Europe wouldn't match until the pendulum clock's invention. Unlike crude sundials or leaky hourglasses, his clepsydra used a symphony of hydraulic engineering to tame the flow of time itself. At its core was a revolutionary feedback system. As water dripped into a cylindrical reservoir, a floating indicator rose steadily, while a clever network of gears and escapements regulated the flow to compensate for pressure changes. The result, a device that could track minutes and hours with consistency mechanical clocks wouldn't achieve until the Renaissance. What set Ctesibius' creation apart wasn't just its precision, but its adaptability. Ancient texts describe how it could adjust for seasonal variations in day length, a feature modern atomic clocks struggle with when converting between solar and standard time. Some models even incorporated elaborate displays, with rotating zodiac rings or miniature theatrical performances activated by the water's movement. The most sophisticated versions allegedly included alarms, where pebbles would drop into brass gongs at predetermined intervals, startling scholars into ending their lectures on time. This wasn't just a tool for measuring hours, it was an early example of programmable automation, blending art and engineering in ways that feel startlingly modern. Yet the clock's brilliance highlights a paradox. Despite its potential, the technology never evolved beyond its Alexandrian roots. While Roman engineers replicated basic designs for public spaces, the underlying innovations like feedback regulators and gear trains faded into obscurity. Part of the blame lies with the Mediterranean's reliance on solar time, where approximate hours sufficed for daily life. But the deeper tragedy was cultural. Ctesibius' work was preserved in texts only accessible to elite scholars, while practical artisans lacked the literacy to build upon his ideas. When the Library of Alexandria burned, key manuscripts may have vanished entirely, leaving later generations to reinvent principles he'd already mastered. Today, as we unravel the clock's secrets from fragmentary descriptions, its legacy becomes clear. Ctesibius didn't just invent a timepiece, he laid the groundwork for cybernetics and control systems, concepts that wouldn't resurface until the Industrial Revolution. His water clock stands as a monument to a road not taken, a reminder that progress isn't always linear. In its silent gears and regulated flows, we see the ghost of a timeline where ancient science leaped ahead by millennia, if only the world had been ready to follow. The Antikythera Mechanism has long been hailed as a singular marvel, a lone survivor of ancient Greek engineering so advanced it felt like an anomaly. But what if this intricate bronze calculator wasn't the exception, but part of a forgotten rule? Fragments of text and scattered archaeological clues are painting a startling new picture. The Antikythera might have been just one star in a constellation of mechanical wonders, a glimpse into a tradition of precision engineering that vanished beneath the sands of time. Consider the writings of Cicero, who described a device built by Archimedes that could replicate the motions of the sun, moon, and planets, a celestial model so detailed. It predated the Antikythera by over a century. Then there's Posidonius, a philosopher whose lost works allegedly detailed mechanical globes simulating eclipses and planetary orbits. These aren't just myths. They're echoes of a technological culture that treated the cosmos as something not just to observe, but to recreate in gleaming bronze and precise gearwork. Even more compelling, recent excavations in Crete and Sicily have unearthed corroded metal fragments with gear-like teeth, too small and fragile to identify fully, but hauntingly reminiscent of the Antikythera's inner workings. The implications are staggering. If these devices were more than one-off curiosities, ancient Greek science wasn't just theoretical, it was hands-on, mechanical, and systematic. Imagine workshops where philosophers collaborated with artisans, turning abstract astronomy into tangible machinery. The Antikythera's complexity suggests generations of trial and error, a lineage of prototypes refined over centuries. Where are those earlier models, melted down for weapons perhaps, or lost when libraries like Alexandria burned? The real tragedy isn't just that these machines disappeared, but that their very existence forces us to rewrite what we thought we knew about ancient innovation. Modern reconstructions offer tantalizing hints of what might have been. When researchers built a replica of the Antikythera using period-appropriate tools, they discovered something unexpected. The design was modular, as if meant to interface with other devices. Could there have been a network of interconnected machines, each specializing in different celestial calculations? The Greeks' obsession with harmony and order makes it plausible. A mechanism predicting planetary positions might have linked to another tracking Olympic cycles, creating a grand, unified model of time itself. Yet the most haunting question remains: why did this tradition die? The answer may lie in the same forces that doomed so much ancient knowledge: war, shifting priorities, and the fragility of hands-on expertise. As Rome's empire grew, practical engineering for aqueducts and roads overshadowed theoretical marvels. The Antikythera, buried in a shipwreck, became a time capsule rather than a stepping stone. Today, as we piece together these fragments, we're not just rediscovering lost technology, we're confronting the fragile threads that connect human progress. The Antikythera wasn't a fluke, it was a whisper from a world that could have been, where the scientific revolution didn't wait for the Renaissance, but began 2,000 years earlier, in the hands of thinkers who saw the universe as a machine waiting to be decoded. From self-healing concrete to potential ancient electricity, these 28 inventions shatter the myth that innovation moves in a straight line. They reveal a world where brilliance flickered in unexpected places, where Roman engineers perfected nanoparticle alloys, Viking navigators harnessed polarized light, and Chinese scientists predicted earthquakes by reading the whispers of the wind. Each discovery forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Progress isn't inevitable. Knowledge can vanish, leaving gaps so vast that centuries later, we mistake them for the boundaries of what's possible. Take the Antikythera Mechanism. For decades, historians dismissed its intricate gears as an anomaly until we realized it wasn't a fluke, but a fragment of a forgotten tradition of mechanical computing. Or consider Damascus steel, a metallurgical masterpiece we still can't perfectly replicate, despite our electron microscopes and atomic modeling. These aren't just curiosities, they're roadmaps to alternate timelines where the scientific revolution might have begun 2,000 years earlier. What's truly humbling is how these technologies reflect a different kind of wisdom. Ancient innovators worked with nature rather than against it. Roman concrete healed itself, while Indus Valley cities built sewers that harmonized with waterways instead of polluting them. Their solutions were elegant, sustainable, and often born from acute observation rather than brute force experimentation. In an age drowning in disposable tech, their legacy asks, what if advancement isn't about constantly reinventing, but sometimes remembering? The most tantalizing question isn't just, how did they do it? But what else is out there? For every artifact we've recovered, countless others likely rotted, melted, or were repurposed into oblivion. Manuscripts burned in Alexandria held secrets we'll never know. Oral traditions died with their last keepers, yet even now, chance discoveries rewrite history. A farmer's plow unearthing a Viking sunstone, a storm exposing hidden chambers in the Great Pyramid. The past isn't finished speaking. As we stand on the shoulders of these ancient giants, their inventions offer more than just mystery, they're invitations. What if we combine their lost techniques with modern tools? Imagine self-repairing bridges inspired by Roman concrete, or medical diagnostics using Lycurgus cup-style nanotechnology. The future of innovation might lie in dialogue with the past, piecing together fragments of wisdom we once cast aside. So the next time you flip a light switch or check your smartphone's GPS, remember, human genius has always burned brighter than we assume. The difference now is that we have the chance to keep its flames alive, to learn not just from our predecessors' triumphs, but from the fragility that let their brightest ideas fade. History's greatest lesson might be this: progress isn't a straight line, but a spiral where sometimes moving forward means first looking back. If these glimpses into forgotten brilliance left you as awestruck as they did us, share your favorite ancient invention in the comments below. And for more journeys through history's hidden chapters, hit subscribe because the next game-changing discovery might be waiting just beneath the surface, ready to rewrite everything we thought.